Welcome, everyone, to Four Sacred Gifts based on the Eaglehood Prophecy. And this podcast's purpose is to highlight, amplify the voices and solutions of Indigenous people around the world, leaders, young and older. And this information, not only information, this wisdom, this is a way of seeing the world is so critical as we see so much separation and destruction happening. And so when people are looking at, well, what am to do, this is what I like to highlight on my, so that you can discover who you are, you're unique, and ask the questions that the four gifts help you answer: forgiving the unforgivable, the gift of healing, the gift of unity, and the gift of hope and action. So today I'm so excited. My guest, friend, it's sort of funny to say guest. She's my guest, but she's a colleague and she's a friend. I met her a number of years ago and just was immediately um, just grateful for her being in the world, for her family who brought her into the world, and glad that she is in Northeast India in the Himalayan belt. And so this is Hasina Kharbhih. I always say it wrong, Kharbhih. And she's from the Khasi tribe. And I'm going to read a few little things, and there's a lot more that'll come out during the interview and the written stuff. So I know people don't want to miss more things about her, but you'll get it through the interview. So Hasina is an Ashoka Fellow and an Aspen Fellow. She's founder of two organizations, the Impulse Social Enterprise, and founder and chair of the board of the Impulse NGO Network. She spent a lifetime, 30 plus years, if not more, in this sector, and she's considered one of the leading figures in the fight against human trafficking and spotlighting migration in India, Myanmar, Nepal, Bangladesh, as well as South and Southeast Asia. And I know that she's brought some of her wisdom here as well into other parts of the world. And so we're really grateful to her. I want to say just a couple of other things is that Hasina attributes her worldview, what contributes it is her culture. And so I'm really delighted to hear more about her culture. And Indigenous female leadership. Those are so connected, and that's what I'm really eager. And all the things that she's about and doing will serve us. She does gender based. She's known for a lot of things. Let me just say, I could go on. I don't want to go too much longer because I want her to speak. She has just hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, awards and recognitions. I'll just name a couple of them. She received the Mother Teresa Award for Social Justice from Harmony Foundation. She's received Most Powerful Women in Business, that she was awarded that in social business category, and on and on. There's so many. So with that, Hasina, I so thank you for coming to us from India and sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your incredible way of living your life and contributing to this world. So with that, welcome, Hasina.
Thank you, Anita. In my tribe, in the Khasi tribe, we say Kublai, which is also thank you and also a greetings to everybody watching this podcast. And I've always been thankful to the universe for having met you, Anita, and being journeying to understand and going deeper into the wisdom of the tribe that I represent, called the Khasi tribe, from the state of Meghalaya. And Meghalaya is among the seven sisters, one brother in the northeast of India, in the eastern Himalayan belt. So we belong to a matrilineal society. And the Khaddo, I'm also the youngest of the family who's a custodian of the tribe. I mean, I would say mostly the family, in terms of the youngest taking care of the entire support system that is there, that the parent has left, the ancestors has left. So thank you, Anita, for having me in your podcast today.
Yeah, I'm really grateful. So I want the people there's so much to talk about, including your book or upcoming or whether it's out. I don't know. I'm not sure. But so, Hasina, could you share a little bit about your um, early life experiences, your culture that brought you to where you are here today?
Anita, I come from a small town called Shillong from the state of Meghalaya. And this is one among the seven sisters that they call, and one brother in the northeast of India. And we are in the eastern Himalayan belt. The tribe that I represent from my mother's side is called the Khasi tribe. We practice matrilineal system where the lineage is through the mother and our surname is given, of our mom. And that's how I grew up as a young child. That's how, I been following the matrilineal system. And as the youngest of the family, which is called the Khatto in our tribe, we become the custodian of the ancestral property, and where the ancestral property becomes the important part. It's like the foundation of all the family, that whoever is going to be in trouble, from any of the siblings, from every of the grandchildren or the great great grandchildren, the ancestral home is a home that welcomes everybody to be there in any time of their grievances, problems, or if there is a challenge in their life. So I think as a custodian, and taking the role of the youngest called the Khaddo, I could feel it more after my mother passed away last year. And next month, on 14th of February, it's going to be 2 years. I felt my role as the custodian becomes much deeper than ever before. Because when my mom was alive, I know that that was my role. But the fact that she was there until the age of 96, I was always there because I know she's there. She leads everything. She was taking care of everything around. Although I've been there around to support and everything. But in the last 2 years, like I just said, the role of the Khaddo from the tribe that I represent, and the engagement that really got me to be deep into how I should take care of the ancestral home became much more deeper. And I think that becomes one of those journey of a woman where she start looking deeper into her role, and that goes beyond the role of me running a nonprofit organization for 37 years. So these are roles. But then somewhere along the line, I find that the kind of wisdom that I carry from the tribe that I come, help me to really remind that the community that I serve, that I work for, are basically a community of human being, where you have responsibility when you decide that you're going to do something, for the larger good. And I think that has been, something very deep reflective for the last 1-2 years now for me. And going back to my childhood, I was the youngest in the family. I was born after 10 years after my brother, I have 3 siblings. And I guess I was pampered very much by my parents at that point. But nevertheless, that pampering led me to a lot of curiosity in life. And that curiosity in life, when I was studying in St. Joseph's School, a school which is just like a 10 minutes walk from my home, there was a program that I was very actively involved called the Leadership Training Services. That program is a school program that engage young people in school to be, serving the community, to engage into high empathy. And that is where I really was so much involved as a young person when I was in my high school, that it carried with me even after my high school, that I wanted to form an alumni. And that alumni actually, give birth to the organization that I run for, 37 years. And addressing a critical issue of migration that is, leading to human trafficking, especially if migration is unsafe. So I think that is one part of my childhood, my growing up, and the community that I represent that actually correlate to each other, Anita.
Yeah, that's a powerful foundation. Just want to reiterate so that we understand your community's service to the whole is very critical. At the same time, I hear, there's the taking care of the individual, but it's always about the whole. And the fact that in the school system, very young, they began teaching you leadership, being part of this leadership program. And now I can see how the things I know about your mother, who was just amazing force by her own right, and of course, birds, another force that is so critical, especially at this time, Hasina, for people to know that that loss of community, that um, is causing part of the separation of people just going off rather than the joy and responsibility of community, the joy of being able to be curious and learn and really always know you're never alone. And also then the responsibility of the whole. So that's just lovely. So could you tell us a little, because I'm sure now that some of the people want to know about this nonprofit that you started, and it sounded like you started it pretty young.
Yes, I
Could
was
you tell
just
us about it?
17, Anita.
That's young. Yeah. So how did this come to be, this organization? What is it? What does it do? And I understand now that you're the founder, and there are others that again passing on that leadership. But can you share with us some of the 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 purpose behind it and the results that you've seen?
Impulse NGO Network is a nonprofit, and the core focus of the work is to address unsafe migration, especially among the indigenous communities in the northeast of India, and how vulnerable communities who migrate unsafely are always trapped into the cycle of exploitative, whether labor or sexual exploitation and all form of exploitation, leading them to be trapped in the slavery of human trafficking. That is the main core and focus of what the organization has walked through in this journey. And in the last 37 years, an innovation that actually drive as the heart and soul of the organization is also called the Impulse model. Now, the Impulse model is an innovation that actually got me the Ashoka Fellowship, and that Ashoka Fellowship helped me to dive deeper on how the work of addressing unsafe migration actually is the core importance of indigenous people moving out of their community in search of better livelihood, in search of economic livelihood, and leaving their ancestral home, leaving their treasure of community, leaving their entire, you know, I would say their entire farm and all of it. But then I think always looking at the greener pastures of life is something that people get trapped into the cycle of human trafficking. So that is something that our organization as a whole took forward to address this issue. But while we were addressing this issue, there was this core, responsibility that what actually is a driving force that people get exploited. And while we are trying to dive into responding to victims, survivors of human trafficking, we realize that there's a larger ambit of this crime that is just not happening in one state or in one country. It's a global issue because it's a 30 billion industry at the end of the day, and that is where people are getting trapped. And the fact that we are stationed at the cross border part of the work that we are doing, uh, that is where the whole crime, of cross-border issue and cross-border human trafficking actually, is basically driving people to be highly vulnerable. So the impulse model stands on 12 pillars, and the six
Great.
P's and the R's, So the 6 P's brings together the private and public, partnership that no single organization can address a crime like human trafficking. And the innovation brings together the action, which is the 6 R's. So the 6 P's is basically partnership, prevention, protection, policing, press, and prosecution. It bring all the stakeholder under one umbrella to focus that they need to work together. And the 6 R is report, rescue, rehabilitation, repatriation, reintegration, and restitution is the action, which is a single window platform that engage multiple service providers, organization, to address human trafficking in a very collective manner. So that is where the innovation became the heart and soul of the organization that I started at the age of 17. And what I realized at a very, very young age when I was starting the whole process, that leadership, I think it also took back to the community that I come, the indigenous tribe that I come, that it is collective, it's shared. And that I think carried with me in the innovation, that the innovation scale out to all the 8 states in the Northeast, but through a shared leadership, through a collective leadership. So I think that is the correlation of the tribe's wisdom that was part and parcel of the work that brings community together, that brings community to respond, to whether it's happiness, whether it's community work, whether it's death, whether it's celebration. There's always a leadership where people come together, and here the innovation drive it in a similar manner. And I think that's the strongest wisdom, that in the last 25 years of this innovation, and different indigenous leaders came together representing different states of the Northeast and shared the leadership for this common wisdom and common vision that we need to address unsafe migration collectively. So that's where the nonprofit organization stands. And we got the World Innovation Prize in 2012 from the World Bank and the Japanese Most Innovative Development Project of the Global Development Network. And that helped us to scale to Myanmar, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Thailand. And here again, the Eastern Himalayan, the Southeast Asia have various tribes again. So there's so much of a reflective, responsive element of this innovation, that actually the core was that shared leadership is the strength of addressing any development challenges or a crime as human trafficking. When we all stand together, we respond it much more efficiently.
And to this day, you just said so much that is so needed, where people feel alone, like they don't belong, separate from everything, that they're carrying all the burden themselves. All those things I hear in this worldview, in your Kasi and the other tribes, is about the whole. Is about you're never alone. You're part of a whole. And so whether it's celebrating or a challenge, that whole is there for you to be with. And I really applaud you. And I feel like this is one of the big things, part of the solution to this separation and other challenges on every level, economic, social, educational, all of it. So I thank you for that. Could you tell us, in that long time, which I'm always amazed that you start that at 17, but it so makes sense with you that you did start so early. How many people have this organization, the whole, impacted, when you talk about, you know, the whole system of finding out, get to the root causes of it, which is the migration, unsafe moving of people from their ancestral lands, but also how many literally people have you not only rescued, but I understand you do other parts like healing and work and all sorts of things. Could you tell us about that?
So the Impulse model have responded, intervened more than 74,000 plus of cases of human trafficking. And this include, both boys and girls and all gender, especially young children that has been trapped in multiple layers of exploitation over the last 25 years. That is the impact. And under the 6R, which is, report, rescue, rehabilitation, repatriation, reintegration, and restitution, the services that has been provided after the rescue has helped them to integrate back into the community that they come from, ensuring that there's no stigma attached, where the confidentiality of that stigma is being taken care within the framework of the legal laws, and all the UN protocol applied, to ensure that human right is a very important aspect of human being, that their rights has to be protected, and our role is to facilitate that action and ensure that all the legal intervention is being provided to them in a collective manner to all the service provider. So that's one of the larger impact of the work that we have done. Along with it, I started Impulse Social Enterprise, a hybrid model, which actually engages more than 30,000 indigenous weavers across the 8 states of the Northeast, helping them to amplify the traditional skills, because traditional skill of indigenous people has always been passed on generation after generation. And we help to revive them and provide economic opportunities through the traditional skill. And we help to develop Impulse Empower, a brand where indigenous textile. I mean, you could see in the background of my room, even
Yeah, it's beautiful.
that's one of the fabrics, which is there, and even the curtains is from Manipur, the state that we work. The other is from Assam, where it's just the bed sheet of it. So these are indigenous weaving that indigenous people among the thousand of tribes in the northeast of India have actually inherited through the ancestral, from grandparents to parents, and they weave it for their own self. But because the lack of market, the lack of access to market, regular market, they have left these traits, they have left these art, and we try to revive it through the Impulse Social Enterprise, a hybrid model. And we came up with an indigenous brand called Impulse Empower, engaging almost 30,000 plus artisans, to revive and bring that into economic, because that is the prevention mechanism of the impulse model, to allow women to have the strength and the power of economic so that they don't migrate unsafely. So that's the other impact of the work that we have done. But coming to other impacts, Anita, we have trained more than 40,000 plus of law enforcement, to actually be able to have sensitivity and apply the law from a very important element of rights, so that exploitation gets reduced. Then train more nonprofit organization to carry on the learning that we have, amplify the learning that we have engaged ourselves in the last 25 years, so that the skills is being passed and there's more intervention taking place in nook and corners of the region and in Southeast Asia.
Wow. So I'm when I hear you talk, your holistic model is not only your immediate family, and then it grows to the whole community, and then between all the indigenous people, the whole section, and the fact that you've trained that many thousands of officers of the legal system to be able to be sensitive to really have centered the human rights of that person, rather than treating them anything less than a human being, which should be treated with dignity and respect. So that also just sounds so powerful. Could you tell us a little bit more about, um, I guess I want to know about the businesses, that part, but also if you could tell us a little bit, without naming anybody, someone that then you rescue, who's been taken into sex trafficking, and and walk me through some of the things, all the way in which they have and their journey, and now how are they now supported either somewhere else or through your organization? I don't know if one person comes to mind, or just to give a little bit more about how this happens, because this is a problem everywhere. And we can see that your organization, your shared leadership has really thought about all of it, and it continues to expand out to other countries. I dare say we need to learn a lot about that on this other part of the hemisphere as well. So does anyone come to mind?
I mean, the most immediate part is I remember of this young boy called Sharon Rai, and he's one of those children who was trafficked for child labor in the rat hole mining in the state of Meghalaya from Nepal. And he is one among the 70,000 kids at the point that were engaged in these illegal rat hole mining, which is traditional in nature, but engaging children below the age of 18 years and in very hazardous situation, even though globally under the Convention on the Right of a Child, no children can be exploited in such forms of, rat hole mining, where, people are dying unreported and they're trafficked for bonded labor. He's one of those child that actually became, one of my hero, and he is still my hero in a lot of ways, because when the real intervention under the model happens to identify many other children that has gone missing from our neighboring countries of Bangladesh and Nepal into the state of Meghalaya, the rat hole, he was one of the first child that I came across that helped me to navigate, the unregulated mines and how children has been trapped under bonded labor. And how many of the parents unknowingly would send the children to work with the aim that they would bring some more economic revenue to the family, but many deaths goes unreported. So this child actually captured the essence of understanding that this is a violation of child's right from the first day that I met him. And having said that, when I started engaging that we need to rescue these kids, he became one of my champions over the years. And today, when I look back, you can imagine. So he was rescued from the coal mine. His other siblings was then rescued, and many more other children that he's helped to identify. And after the rescue, because we were reported of the missing children under the 6R, rehabilitation happened where they're being sent back to the respective country that they come from, to the legal norms of intervention. And we took a stand that they should get back to school. So many of them went back to school, get educated. Sharon completed, his 12th grade, and then went on skill building as a chef. You can't believe it. He is a chef in Dubai right now. So imagine, from the rat hole to Dubai. And what touches me more than anything in this world, are to see the kind of success and how a new life, you know, is formed. And, from that to that level. So any award cannot buy that joy as this child, when he is constantly in touch with me. I was just joking the other day and I said, you know what? I've not been so well for the last 2 months and I've not traveled. He said, come and see me in Dubai. I mean, I have my little apartment. I'm the chef. I'm the assistant chef of this big restaurant. And I said, oh, I know I don't have money unless I get sponsored. What touches me more? And he said, I can buy you a ticket. I think that was the point that just make me feel so, I mean, it just stopped me for a while to say, did I deserve this? So I think he's one of those children, and there are many more cases that actually gets me to carry on, re-innovating the innovation, that it has to be collective, that people who are trapped in this cycle of exploitation needs, to be
Yeah.
rescued, to be given
Oh
a
my
different
gosh.
path.
When you share that story, thank you. And for both of you, part of what I was feeling as you were talking was my heart expanding. And I thought, oh, you must have such a special place in his heart. But then you also talk about him having such a special place in your heart. And then I think about the thousands of people. What a big heart you have. And all of them who are, contributing back and being of service and living a life of dignity and being able to model that's possible, because hope is so important at this point to actually see that process happening in a time where there's so much chaos in the world is so needed. So thank you for sharing that story, and you can thank him when you talk to him or see him sometime, that
Sure.
we really are rooting for him, and for all the members in his family and community as well. Then the other thing I wanted you to talk about is, tell us a little bit more. Oh, maybe just take a breath. Oh my gosh. I could feel it in my body. You're going to go from this story and ask about the work thing. And I just want to give the audience a chance too to take a breath and to feel that in your heart. The joy and responsibility we have for each other, and how that is so life-giving. And with that, I'd like to have you talk a little bit about one of the, after you do the rehab, the sending them back and get to school or whatever, and then the training, and they're back in their ancestral skills. Um, Tell us more about how that happens. It sounds like they're getting jobs, they're creating jobs, or you're helping them create jobs. And then how all does that go to market? Because you mentioned something that it's difficult, but tell us a little bit more about that and how we might participate in helping that really be even more successful.
Thank you for that question, Anita. So, Impulse Empower, the artisan's brand, we have a website called impulseempower.com with only one E, Impulse Empower. The E in the middle is just one,
Okay,
impulseempower.com.
good.
Yes. So, the indigenous tribe that has been identified in the course of our work in the last 25 years are indigenous tribes that are actually vulnerable and come from communities that have been migrating unsafely. So, what we have taken into our hands is that we need to prevent and provide them economic upliftment so that they don't get trapped into the exploitation situation. And then we look back the kind of tribes they come from, the ancestral heritage that they carry with them, the skill sets. Like I just said, every indigenous people in this universe have the beautiful art that today the world of fashion, still have, they take all the inspiration from there. So what we do is hand weaving, handloom, weaving from home is one of the multiply effect of economic upliftment, giving these women a chance to transfer the skill that the grandmother has given them, and then giving it to their daughters and so on, and making it valuable and consistent in terms of engaging designers to come on board and apply more of the modern element of how indigenous textile can be used, in multiple purposes. And you can wear culture, you can wear a folklore story, and along with it, it's still a sustainable textile in a world where we're talking about sustainability, in a world where we are challenging how climate impact is also one of the biggest challenge of this world. But how do we actually contribute, to address climate impact? One is indigenous wisdom. Like for us, we took weaving and craft, as a way of applying sustainability. And we work with yarn, which are sustainable yarn. Like Eri is called a pea silk, a non-violent silk, where the moth, of the the cocoons, are never broken such a way that you don't kill, the entire worm, but you still extract yarn. That's called eri. Organic dyes, which has actually come from the forest. So strengthening the forest ecosystem of farming, multi-crop farming, and agroforestry that goes hand in hand in terms of food security. That is one of the elements of how we are amplifying and expanding and scaling out under the brand. So people can look at our website, see the kind of product line and fashion accessories, and they can get in touch with us to amplify, being a purchaser of these beautiful craft and beautiful, fashion garments. Engage with us, in multiple ways, boutiques and others, because then they're giving life to people who are vulnerable. The other aspect is those who have already been trapped when they get reported, like how I spoke about Sharon, the young boy, rehabilitation for many of the young children. We always encourage that they go back to school, sponsoring these kids, because that's the real challenge of rehabilitation, or giving them opportunities and option through the network of organization that are providing rehabilitation program to help them develop skill set or interests, because they also have a right, to dream, right? I mean, every one of us dream to have a better life, Anita. And I think that dream is where we continue to see hope and believe that life can always be different. So similarly, with all the survivors, is giving that chance of their dream, like Sharon, from the rat hole mind of a bonded labor to a dream that he had to be a chef, and there he is. So I think that dreams get fulfilled. So there are many more like that. And that is the second part of the rehabilitation. Repatriation is one aspect, because many of the kids are being trafficked interstate, cross borders. We have cases, from different countries as well that we are dealing, multiple, Myanmar into India, Myanmar into Thailand. We've had Burmese into the US, we've had Thai, Cambodian to Europe and other Middle Eastern countries. So trafficking is a global business. How labor and cheap labor are often one of the violation of rights of human being. And to stop that, of course, we have impulse model prevention that we try to work into economic upliftment. But those who get strapped and when the case get reported, rescue operation happen, then repatriation process, bringing them back to where they belong without any stigma. Then the rehabilitation. So rehabilitation varies, from the different states, the different countries, and the option, like I said, the power of giving them a chance to fulfill the dream that they have. So that is where we try to work with multiple organizations, creating these opportunities so that they're able to get back to society and they don't get re-trafficked. And that is the reintegration process. The restitution process of the 6R is they are fighting back for their rights, and we provide legal justice system, lawyers, so that they're able to stand up, and basically get the support of the legal system at any levels to get the compensation back, because that's also a right of human being. That's dignity at the end of the days. So these are things how the process of the 6R report, then you rescue, repatriation is interstate and cross-border, and then rehabilitation, which I've just explained. Reintegration is getting back to their own community. We don't like to displace people from their own community. We want them back to go to their own community, but ensuring that they don't get re-trafficked in the absence of economic upliftment. But economic upliftment for somebody who've come back after being rescued, trafficked as a child, rescue when he is a teenager, is not very easy to reintegrate into the society. So having these multiple, shared leadership of organization coming together, fulfilling the arms of services, help us to integrate, these, children, women, young women into the society. That's where the model works.
Oh my goodness. I'm thinking, I think that people will want to watch this podcast a couple of times because there's so much learning in there. I'm just awed to think about the Sean and this hole and the mining and moving through your whole process. And that doesn't only involve you, but the other organizations and legal and everything, but all moving towards the well-being of this person. And in that process, to have them be able to live out their dream. Because what we're experiencing here now is, as I talk to people, someone's like, "I don't have any dreams. I feel hopeless." There's that kind of thing, and then I hear the story, which seems like one of the most horrific experiences as a child, to be trapped mining, and I just think about all of that, and then move to where the dream comes true, which just tells me that you're really, um, you are making dreams come true. You're helping them be empowered to make their dream come true, and that there's no reason to be hopeless. And there's no room for hopelessness. You got to keep going. And I find you, one of the things I love about you is that, yeah, I'm sure you have difficult times. And I remember when your mom passed, that was so hard. And I didn't even know her, but I felt like I knew her through you. So, but yet, even then, there was this sense of, no, together, calling on my culture, calling on the community, calling all of this and my own sacredness, that you can go forward with your dreams. So, can you, again, everyone take a breath. There was so much there. And I will listen to this again too. But can you tell us, what are you focused on? Is this, you talked about shared leadership, so some of this has changed for you in terms of being founder versus, in the forefront. So what are your dreams now? Where do you spend your time?
So, Anita, in the last 1 year, it's going to be 1 year and 4 months right now, I've been going through a transition of leadership in the nonprofit organization that I founded. So the new chairperson is Tashi Rapten Barfungpa, a human rights lawyer, a lawyer who is very, who came back to his hometown in Sikkim and was instrument to actually amplify the Impulse model, as a state partner. And in the course of the journey of more than 16 years, became a board director, and then, continue to carry the shared leadership in amplifying the Impulse model, like any of our other state partners. Like we have Pishak Singh in Manipur, we have Mr. Hamso in Nagaland, Sinal Mao in Arunachal, we have Monte in, so we have many more. We have in Myanmar, we have Mr. Umang Mangwin. So these are leaders, who came and journey and came to believe in and have that trust. So I think trust is a very important element of shared leadership. And trust is an important part that keeps people together. And when leadership get transitional and it gets amplified, the reason is I do not want that it becomes a founder driven organization at the end of the day. So at this moment, I'm going through this transition of leadership while I'm also taking two step backward, strategizing that the nonprofit journey will keep amplifying through the new leadership. And the other leaders will then continue to take their leadership in the right spirit, in the spirit that I have basically opened the doors, to make this innovation a workable solution to address unsafe migration and human trafficking. While that is ongoing at the moment, the for-profit hybrid model Impulse Social Enterprises, the brand Impulse Empower, is also trying to amplify its reach with global organization worldwide to work on sustainability, to work that if you want to achieve sustainability, you need to amplify indigenous wisdom, you need to amplify indigenous skill sets, and you can take sustainability of how we can address climate impact through these wisdom to the global market. So I am really working towards that more deeper, although the hybrid model is 18 years now, but then, you journey, it's just like, it is a baby and you became a child. And now as an adult, we are trying to look at these amplifying ecosystem that it is no need to reinvent the wheel. Amplification can be through partnership. And
Yes.
that is the important element. And the partnership is being able to carry you know wisdoms of indigenous people to a global platform. So that is where I'm spending a lot of my time. The other is journey with purpose in an initiative where myself and my co-founder and a great friend, Carlos, you know Martinez, Carlos Navarro Martinez, is from Spain, and we are taking or bringing people into this journey to see and experience how they can make their journey, purposeful in amplifying through visiting these places that we have had impact and higher impact. So Journey with Purpose was born when me and Carlos came together through our co-experiences. And I think we come from two diverse culture, Spanish from Canary Island and myself from the Eastern Himalayan, and still having common understanding about how we can make global change through our own journey of experiences and years of understanding that we can bring people who wants to be part of a journey and make it meaningful in their life, philanthropists, who would like to be engaged in this kind of purposeful journey by seeing real impact. So we've had people visiting us, of course, and we are trying to amplify that. And of course, our website is up there called journey with purpose.org, and people should look at what we are doing. So that's another things, Anita, and I felt it's time for me to leave a legacy, and the legacy of my own learning and experiences, so that the younger generation today, the Gen Z, can learn and then use their knowledge skill to amplify and not reinventing the wheel. So that is something where I am at this point of time, from the professional side of my own personal journey. It's like you paused and you're trying to make things larger than what you have. So I still keep dreaming at this moment too.
Yeah,
I've
still
never stopped
big
dreaming.
dreams.
Dream of amplifying a
And
big dream. So I think that is that the belief that things can change, and I think that belief stuck me in through all the challenges of my life, whether it's personal, professional, when you start fighting the nexus of human trafficking, the mafias, with all the challenges of attacks and all of that, the belief that things can change, I think it's continue to help me to do what I do and loving what I do. But at this point, I think as a woman, I think that nurturing, is what I do right now. And I think that's a natural process of women leadership, nurturing. So I think nurturing a shared leadership is where I put, my stronghold. And I think the shared leadership has worked because of that nurturing under the impulse model processes. So there's where I am, and I keep believing. I think that is, I keep dreaming that yes, I'm going to amplify this and re-innovating it, and I think that's what Journey with Purpose is all about.
yeah, good. Well, we'll be sure on the website to put the names of those different websites so that
Sure.
people, whether they're philanthropists or an individual who's working on the health of the climate, and to see the care that you take from the silkworm, from that little worm, all the way through with respecting life, treating like a relative, which is very much a part of Indigenous knowing, and then all the way through. So to not cause harm, but rather to amplify the life-giving forces that we all have. So we'll be sure. So those of you who are listening and going or driving or something, so you couldn't write anything down, or be sure that we'll have all of those websites on the website of the Be Here Now Network. And so you're at such a light. I'd like to have you close with anything else that you feel is important you want to say, and I don't want you to go afterwards and go, gosh, I wish I said that with Anita. I wish we had that question. This is the time for that. We still have a little bit of time to be able to, anything else that you have that you want to share with the world, because that's what you're really
I think
talking about.
as a woman myself and a woman who embark in the journey of leadership, I always see that young 17 years every day in myself, the curious me. And I think that curious me keeps me alive to re-innovate and to open the space of new learning and challenges, and I mean, ideas comes alive when you are that 17 years old, because a 17 years old don't mind making mistake and continue to try it again. And that is a very important part of leadership, because the moment we are stuck in this maturity space, we don't want to try anything new because we are scared of making mistakes. So that's a very important learning that I had through my journey, to continue to be the 17 years old at heart and take that with me of being curious. Like if you look at human trafficking in today's time, in the last 7-8 years, it has basically shifted into online space, exploitative online, the scamming online, the exploitative online, because of all forms of knowledge base that there is a need. Technology for good is very important, but technology is also making humans' life more vulnerable. AI, for instance, or looking at online platforms, social platforms, there is the other dark side of it. How can we navigate that space? So the curious me of 17 continue to make me curious to learn and also implement new knowledge, new skill, and adapt that, so that I am not left behind to say, all right, I've done enough. So I think that is something that I carry with me. I might be into a transition, but then there's the other aspect of I can bring value, through the legacy of the past that I have left, in terms of what the institution is, but also the new aspect, opening doors, to work globally with, online platform ish, corporate sectors and others as well. So I think these are very important part that leaders should always, engage themselves, not to give up. The other part of it, I think, as a woman leader, I've seen that a lot of women, at the end of the day, once they get into a family space and they are into leadership space, they get themselves, very, very challenged, and some of time they leave the leadership part of it. And, they feel they cannot do both. But for me, I think I had believed very strongly at the end of the day, So I believe very strongly at the end of the day that if you love what you do, you enjoy what you do, you can do both. So there's no overlapping about the workspace and the personal space. It's about the abundance of your life, of welcoming that community again of indigenous wisdom, that both can really go together. It's flow like a river, So that's something that is very important, that women should also look at themselves, that life doesn't get stopped and get stagnant because they've settled down and they have a family. They can continue to apply that, and women can really tackle that aspect of it, so that you carry on to take the leadership role that is needed very much in this world today. So I think that's something
Definitely.
I'd love to share with everybody.
That's great. That's just really wonderful. I'm thinking about all the solutions that you shared with us today that come out of a worldview and mindset that really respects women, that respects all human beings, masculine or feminine, and from child to adult. And some of those things I'm going to be thinking about, which is the curiosity and dreaming is really important. And part of that ability to do that is to develop trust in yourself. So loving and caring for yourself, and then loving and caring for others. And I guess we're leading somewhat of a good life. Not that we haven't both had challenges, but I loved because I'm going through transition too. My work in the corporate world I never had a bad, oh, it's Monday or it's Sunday evening. I love what I do in bringing people's hearts together under the thing of, you know, eh, different kinds of innovations or working together across cultures around the world. And what I find is that now listening to you, I just want to say thank you because you also have given a gift to me as a woman who's in transition too, who's never going to be done. I mean, I need to rest. I do that. But I tell young people who I'm supporting and working with that there are a lot of us who are not done. And in fact, I won't be done supposedly until I take my last breath. However, knowing ancestral knowledge, I feel like I'll be the whisper in people's hearts and ears to go forward. And that's what you've been describing to us in terms of that ancestral wisdom and knowledge and community that that is doesn't die. It must amplify. So I wish you well, and I wish for all of those of you who are watching who are philanthropists or maybe no philanthropists to let them know about this, or who want to serve in any way you can, including taking on leadership in your community, really assessing that. What is yours to do with love and care? So we're not asking people to burn out or anything, but to know that every one of us matters at this time. So, Hasina, I can't wait till I can see you in person someday again, and just wish you well. And what can I say? I love you. I love the things that you're doing in this world. And I love that you're taking it to the global level because that must happen because it's all connected. We're all connected, even though you're in the Himalayas and I'm in the Rocky Mountains. It doesn't matter if you're on the coast of some island, we're all connected. So with that, thank you so much, Hasina. Thank you so much. And thank your community and your ancestors. And I want to thank all of you who are watching and listening to Four Sacred Gifts. This is what we want to give out. People keep talking about, well, Indigenous solutions, Indigenous knowing. It is there. And that ancestral knowledge you can find for yourself as well. But meanwhile, here, we'll keep amplifying the voices and wisdom and knowledge of Indigenous elders, young and older, so that way we can be a part of really making this a life-giving world for not only now, but for 7 generations forward. Thank you, Hasina. Thank all of you for watching.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you for having me in your journey. And I think I really, take that as a blessed moment for myself. Thank you.